Aiden's Lair. That sounds like the name of some supervillain hideout in a cheesy 80s fantasy movie. Herb McCourtie, he set out to create a gentleman's retreat for him and all of his rich friends in the mob. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a rags to riches story of a lowly farmer who made his way to the top. A story of crime and intrigue. This is the story of McCourtie Park. Buckle up, because this one is going to be a fun ride.
William Herbert Lee McCourtie would be born on a small farm in Michigan. After spending his childhood years doing labor-intensive agricultural work, he decided that he wanted a different path in life. He would attend the University of Michigan and graduate as a lawyer in 1894. He would find his way to Dallas, Texas, where he would write oil and gas leases. Eventually, he would begin speculating in oil. He would develop a small fortune on the oil markets.
After making a small fortune in the oil industry, Mr. McCourtie would return to Michigan, where he would overhear a few men talking about the soaring profits that could be made in cement. And now it's snowing out.
The men that he was listening to would begin to talk about the ingredients that go into making cement. One of the ingredients is marl, a type of clay. At this moment, Mr. McCourtie would have an epiphany. There was a type of clay on his father's farm, and it just had to be marl. He had the soil tested, and he was right. His journey to success had begun. In 1898, he would be involved in the Peninsular Portland Cement Company out of Cement City, which was close to his father's farm. His partner in this venture was an engineer and a cement plant architect named William Foster Coham. Mr. McCourtie was the president of the company, and his fortune would continue to grow.
Probably. See, we don't actually know if Mr. McCourtie was involved in Peninsular Cement or not, but there is strong evidence to suggest that he was. Either way, we do know that he made a fortune in cement. Afterwards, he would decide to move his family to Jackson, leaving his family's homestead behind.
The old family home went to his sister. Soon, Mr. McCourtie would have a grand idea. He wanted to turn that old farm into something wonderful. He would buy it from his sister and begin making major renovations and expansions on the home, including several guest rooms and even a dancing hall. Concrete from Portland cement was sourced for all of this.
This is where things started to get really interesting. See, Mr. McCourtie had fallen in love with art. Not just any kind of art, but Mexican folk art. Now, he desired to have more than just a rich man's retreat. He wanted a place that was an expressive reflection of the potential of cement.
Ralph Corona and George Cardosa, two experts in Mexican folk art, were invited to come to the farm. He would also have two elegant birdhouses created, one of which would cost $2,200.
That's just over $33,000 in today's money, which is kind of a lot to spend on a single birdhouse, but it is a really nice looking birdhouse. I don't actually know if that's the specific one we're talking about here, but it does look impressive either way. Anyway, Prohibition. Finally, I hear you shouting, dear viewer, we're getting to the crime. Yes, that's right. It's time for crime.
Just off of US 12, built into a side of a hill where nobody would be able to see you enter, Mr. McCourtie constructed a building that he called the Rathskeller. That means an underground beer hall. Inside the Rathskeller there is a vault with a 300-pound door. This vault has two locks on it, a combination lock and a key lock. There's also a hidden trap door above the underground vault, which would be perfect for dropping off liquor. Although it can't be confirmed, all of the evidence would suggest that this was an underground speakeasy. It was constructed during the height of Prohibition, after all. Now, this is the part where things start to get really wild and a little nebulous.
Whether or not Mr. McCourtie had a Prohibition-era speakeasy where he held parties with mobsters is unknown. We do know that he did have his own private bar, which is what they're doing maintenance on right now if you can hear some of the noise. But there was a very real case of violence that happened here in Hillsdale. Oh, that's the town that the park is in, if I haven't mentioned that yet. Anyways, it involved the Black Hand Gang. The Black Hand Gang was a famous gang of mobsters that were wreaking havoc all up and down US 12.
US 12 goes right through Hillsdale County and is right next to McCourtie Park. On top of that, there were many Italian businesses in Hillsdale. Pete Cascarelli was an Italian shop owner on the main street of Hillsdale. He refused to give any protection money to the gang. On June 24th of 1923, a Sunday, there was a huge explosion in Hillsdale's downtown area. It was Mr. Cascarelli's store, and although he told the sheriff that he had no idea what happened, I think it's pretty obvious who blew up his store. Rumor has it that the Black Hand Gang actually used to party at the speakeasy in the Rathskeller and would occasionally stay at Aiden's Lair, but we don't actually know if that's true.
Okay, before we continue, I have to mention the ghosts, because of course there are ghosts. There's always ghosts. So, according to an urban legend, there's tunnels underneath the park that used to be a part of the Underground Railroad. That's not a literal Underground Railroad. That was a path used by escaped slaves to get to Canada through the northern U.S. I thought it was an actual Underground Railroad when I was a kid. Anyways, the ghosts, yes. Apparently, there's a woman in blue who wails all through the night and walks across the grounds of the park. That's all the information I could find online. I don't know who she's supposed to be exactly. Maybe she's one of the escaped slaves or was killed trying to help a slave escape. You can find information about it all over the place on different message boards and stuff. But as far as I'm aware, there's no actual underground tunnels here. All right, back to the story.
Mr. McCourtie was known to throw huge and lavish parties at his estate. He would also let many people of the local area come to his estate to check out all of the cool concrete sculptures. This rich man's retreat would quickly become a famous local landmark. In the year 1933, at the age of 61, after spending some time at the Battle Creek Sanatorium, Mr. McCourtie would pass away. Shortly after this, the Kissling family would purchase the estate. The estate would begin to become overgrown and disrepaired. In 1987, the Somerset Township would purchase it, and they would begin work on fixing up the park. In 1991, it would be added to Michigan's Register of Historic Places. McCourtie Park is quite the incredible and legendary place. It's a very important part of the local history of Somerset Township and Hillsdale County. It's certainly worth the visit if you're in the area. McCourtie Park and its incredible history will never be forgotten.
You say around her, she's away without words, can be fleeting. Trust in your meaning. Every time I can't stop, won't you say what what you want. I don't know, love. Coming home any day now. But we can't go back.
Now, whether or not Mr. Oh my gosh.